Hey, this is Victoria Williams with John BRoughton on Retrospectives, celebrating 25 years on the air on KC Radio, 97.7 FM.
Start by talking about first we'll talk about the area that you're based in there at Joshua Tree. It sounds like an inspiring area to create around.
Well, yes, there's a lot of quiet in it. There's an intense quietness and a lot of places to go for walks, and you never see another soul.
I believe you began playing as a piano player. What drew you to that instrument initially, and what led you to eventually take up the guitar?
Well, it's much more accessible. I could carry a guitar around with me.
Simple as that. Which fields of music did you have an initial interest in? What music was first grabbing your attention?
When I started playing music?
Well, when you first started developing an interest in music, yeah.
I think it's first mostly kind of folk music, like Joni Mitchell and Cat Stevens and Crosby, Stills and Nash and things like that. When I first started playing guitar, I was into that kind of music. When I first started going to concerts, however, was way before that, and I went to just hard rock concerts.
Uh-huh. And what about your songwriting? At what point did you begin writing?
I began writing in high school. Well, I hung out with a group of people who lived outside and over in Texas, and everybody wrote in the crowd. We played music together, and so I thought I better write too. So I started writing some songs too, because it just seems natural since everybody else was doing it. I had kept a box of writing from when I was very young. I used to write just my thoughts in a box.
Mm-hmm. And to look back on some of those early songwriting efforts now, that obviously you're more experienced and more accomplished.
I was much better back then, I'm sure. I think sometimes maybe I grow in some ways, and and sometimes I think I write the same song over and over all these years. It's kind of the same song. And if I look at the content of it,
Was it a difficult decision for you at the time to leave Louisiana for California when you did?
No, it wasn't. I think it would have been harder for me to stay in Louisiana when I left Louisiana. I just left because I felt that there wasn't even a question. I just felt I really wanted to go out and be on my own.
It was time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Who were some of your first musical contacts when you arrived in California?
Well, let's see. I met a lot of different musicians. I met Gene. Gene. Oh dear. That's the fellow. He's dead now, but I met him at the Whiskey. Oh, and I love Gene Clark.
Oh, Gene Clark, of course.
Yeah, that was very nice too. People were playing at the Whiskey, and I was playing at the Troubadour. They have a hoot night, and I met different people who would be coming to the hoot night, like Chucky Weiss, and let's see, one of the first persons that I met, a musical, someone who's been an influence on me, I think, was Van Dyke Parks.
Of course, yeah.
I was someone brought me over to his house, and he would play his accordion out there in the yard, and I would play guitar. And he had a lot of nice musicians that he introduced me to, Richard Thompson and the Green Quartet, and wonderful drummer, and Fred Tackett on guitar.
Your first deal was with Geffen Records. Can you recall how that came about?
Well, I started that record for Rough Trade, actually, and I was recording it in a studio, and this gal was in the studio from Geffen to hear somebody in the next studio, and she heard what I was doing with T-Bone Burnett, actually, and we were doing it for Rough Trade, and she wanted to put it on Geffen, and I, in my ignorance of such things, thought that Geffen would be better than this Rough Trade, so I went ahead and went with them. I didn't really realize how record companies can be, because she left the company as soon as my record came out, so there was nobody there at Geffen for me. I guess that's a common tale in the music business.
Yeah. Do you think major labels have had a problem over the years working out how to promote you, because there is a great diversity in your musical styles?
Yeah, I think so. I know that Geffen, that they said they didn't really know what to do with me.
I guess because of that diversity too, it would be difficult for those who like to categorise your music also. Are you constantly aware of maintaining that diversity?
No, I'm not. I just would like to do something that is pleasant to the ear, and that it feels good. I'd like to do music that feels good. That when people hear it, it feels good to them. That's my main objective.
One thing that's really highlighted your albums over the years, you've had a great knack of assembling some fantastic players on your records. What qualities do you like in musicians that make the ones that you'd want to record with?
For them to be great listeners is a priority, and that they are. I tend to steer towards people who can improvise, because that's something that I trust. The improvisations that may come up during recording, and so I want to be playing with someone who can improvise to the moment.
How did it become apparent to you that something wasn't quite right, and how did you initially cope with that news?
Oh, it was back when I was out opening for Neil Young. Neil was doing his solo tour, the Harvest Moon tour, and I was out opening for him solo, and it was the 22nd show, I think. I just lost my ability to walk very good, and my hands wouldn't do anything, and I had to go to a doctor and find out what was wrong with me. As much as I wanted to be able to stay on the tour and just stand there and sing a cappella, because my spirit felt okay, but my body just completely all broke down.
In what ways has it affected your music in more recent times?
Oh, the last time was this last summer. My hands weren't really behaving quite well, and I had to do the Lilith tour, and I wanted to do the Lilith tour, so I went ahead and did it, and every now and then my hands would just go flopping onto some strange chord that I hadn't planned on. But luckily, like I say, these musicians that I've played with, I was with Mark Olson and Joey and John from Calexico, and they improvised, and we all made music, despite whatever my hands were doing. I don't know.
Has it restricted you in terms of touring, the length of time and the distance you can travel to go on tour?
Well, I kind of restrict myself. Like when we play, people that we play, they don't allow smoking in the venues, and that's really helpful. And then I just try to get enough rest and eat right. And if I can, go get some swimming exercise. That's very good for it too.
Right. So how are you generally holding up these days? You...
I'm doing pretty good. I kind of had a tough New Year's. I played a New Year's show up in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
That was really fun. But then I drank too much.
As we all tend to do.
Yeah. So that was... And you really can't do it with the MS. It's not very good to drink at all.
Yeah.
And for some reason I did. So I was down for a few days.
Reading and hearing other interviews with you, a quality of yours has really stood out about all this. You've really maintained an incredibly positive attitude. What helps you to maintain that in certain times when it must be difficult to do so?
Well, I suppose prayer. Sometimes I have to just break down and just give it up. Giving up is always the best. As the bumper sticker says, let go and let God.
Yeah.
And that's helped me a lot, I think. Seeing as how, in the end, that's all there's going to be. And so I may as well try to trust and get to know, my inner self is some inner peace. So I'm thankful for that, actually. That aside from being able to pray, which is that's such a gift, but there's other people that have prayed for me, and I know that helps so much. I know it does. It's the only explanation I can give.
Yeah.
Is that people have prayed for me, and somehow I seem to keep making it so far so good.
Retrospectives tonight, our interview guest is Victoria Williams. For any songwriter, it must be a terrific feeling to have other artists cover your songs, but when it's done in the context as the Sweet Relief album was, that must really hold a special place for you, that record?
Oh, yes, that was so dear. I thought that was just the sweetest thing, and it was the nicest gift, really, to hear those artists. They were all so talented, and each one they did their performances with such love. That was very nice.
Now, after that, you set up the Sweet Relief Foundation. Can you just run over some of the achievements of that foundation since you set it up?
Well, they've given out quite a bit of aid. I think they've given out like $350,000 of aid, and they help people like musicians that are having either an accident or illness, or else some people that are just old musicians that don't have enough money for rent. And I think it's been a very good organization. I've spoken with some people who told me that it helped them a lot, because it really. I noticed when I was in all those hospitals, the amount of the bills was so high. It was like, and so I said, if we could give up we give up to $15,000 to each case, that if they need whatever their needs are, and that can really help people get going.
Talk about your most recent album, your first in a while. It must have been a great feeling to get back to work in the studio again.
Yes. Yeah, musings. Yeah. I did it out here in the desert, and I got to work with Trina Shoemaker, who I had worked with years ago, but nothing came of it. But we both wanted to work together again, and so we did, and we did it over at our neighbors out here, Fred Drake's studio. We set up a studio in his house, and so it was really close to home, and that was really nice. And the musicians, like getting to work with Brian Blade. He's from my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, and I truly enjoyed working with Brian and all the musicians. They were really great. It was a great cast of musicians.
Do you enjoy the studio environment? Do you really like tinkering around with your songs in there?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
So you don't always go in with a set idea what you want. It more or less takes its time and develops in the studio as you go.
Both.
Yeah.
You have some set ideas and then some that you leave open. That's the fun of it.
What about the input of the other players on the record? Did they come up with some ideas that you generally take on board?
Well, I generally choose the musicians that I like the way that they play. So I trust what they're going to play. Like, I didn't have on this record. I didn't have like really set horn lines or anything. Like on Loose, I had more set horn lines and things. But on this, it was it was much more improvised. And so yeah, I took some of their horn lines and whatever they played, they just whatever they came on there.
There's a real gentle approach, gentle feel to the album. Was that the feel you wanted to go into the studio with, or is that inspired by the environment you were working around there?
Yes, I think so. I think since we made it in the desert, and it was mostly recorded at night because it was in the scorching heat of the day. We couldn't work in the desert because you have to have on these really loud swamp coolers, and they make so much noise you can't record with them. So we did that record in the middle of the night, most of it, and so. And just by nature of the songs, it's kind of a laid-back album, It's kind of dedicated to my grandfather with that song to my grandpa, honoring him. I think it's the most personal thing I've ever put on a record. That, as far as like in my family, like putting something like a tribute, a real tribute to him on there.
Now, you mentioned earlier you were part of the Little Affair tour a couple of years back. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It sounds like a fantastic tour. And what was it like to be part of it?
Oh, it's so fun. And I was very fortunate to get to be on it both years so far. And it was, it's all the gals out singing their song. And it's so needed, I think, because then people see that it's like, that each gal has got their own thing. They got their own voice and their own song and something to share, and it's a very loving feel at this festival. I wish that they have it all over the place. The people that would come to the shows, loving feel, and between the participants was really great camaraderie. We at the end of the night, we all sang together, and that was fun. And I got to sing with Bonnie Raitt. That was a lot of fun.
Wow, yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read somewhere that you've got some involvement in an upcoming children's album. Is that right?
Yes. Just working on it here at the house. We have a studio here at home, and we've been working on it.
And these your own compositions, children's songs?
Yes. And then some old, I'm kind of researching ones from different countries too.
And In terms of your songwriting, how do you find it writing for children in comparison to writing your normal material? Do you approach it any differently?
No. Except for, I think it's just more simple. Simple. And that's what you keep in mind, which I suppose you keep in mind for all songs, really.
Yeah. And what sort of release plans have we got for that?
Gosh, it'd be great if it could come out this year. Just have to get it finished.
Yeah.
Sometimes depends on if you have our home. Depends on if Atlantic's putting it out or if it's our home record. We have a home record label, and if Atlantic doesn't want to put it out, and then we put it out on our home label, it'll definitely be out this year.
One way or the other, yeah. Is there a certain kind of album within you that we haven't heard from you yet? A certain type of album you'd like to make?
Yeah. It's boiling up.
What would that be?
I don't know. We'll just have to see when it comes up. Seems like it's on its way. It's going to be different. I'm sure that I've been recording some things though here in this last month. Some with a big band, horns. A 13-piece band, and I've been recording these very old songs from 1920s.
Oh wow! Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And and that kind of goes along with this other thing. If Atlantic doesn't want to put it out, I'll put it out on my home label. These songs, because I think they're a lot of fun.
And just before I let you go, what else would be on your books for 1999? What are your immediate plans?
Well, just finish these records, and then got to go on a tour. And then we got we want to go to Australia, but it doesn't seem like we're going there yet. I thought that we were, but Mark says they haven't gotten back to us yet with a firm offer, he says.
Okay, so it is a possibility.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, terrific. That'd be great. We'd love to see you down here.
That would be really great. Like when it gets really hot here, I think if I could go there then. Is that okay? It would be like the summer months here. Is that super cold there?
Our winters can get cold, but nothing really extreme. Like it doesn't snow here in our cities anyway. It doesn't get that cold.
That'd probably be when we come.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. We'd love to see you down here. Okay, Victoria.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, and I'll have to get our homemade records.
That'd be fantastic. Yes, I look forward to that. And you take care, and hopefully we'll get to see you down here sometime in '99.
Okay, John.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.